Hi guys, welcome to Twin Peaks, Twin Perspective. I'm Joe.
I'm James. Josie.
That never gets old. And tonight we're going to cover Twin Peaks, The Return, part 13.
Lucky number 13.
Which was called What story is that, Charlie?
We bunted.
We both picked Audrey would say it, and she said it, though she didn't say it quite the way I thought she was going to say it.
We should be doing our Rancho Rosa colors 2 weeks in a row. You guessed it last week, and I nailed it 5 seconds before they showed it. You're like, what color is it going to be? I'm like, well, let's go with green. So now I'm going with purple for 14.
Okay, you're going with
some kind of mauve. We got to get that.
Okay. Yeah, because it was something. I had thought about green earlier in the week, and then when it was about to happen, I just completely forgot. And then you said green. So yeah, let's go with green.
Black and white and red and green.
And it was green, and then we saw the alcove ring. So I always think the colors connect to something in the episode. So that's what that meant. That's what I'm going with. And I guess we'll guess the color for next week. You said purple/mauve. Now I'm gonna have to guess something else besides that. I guess. What if that's? No, if that's what I feel, that's what I'm gonna guess. All right. So I thought this episode was very good. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Although it's probably my least favorite 10 out of 10, but still. Perfect episode. Everything was great about it. I laughed from beginning to end, probably even during the parts I shouldn't have been laughing at.
Oh, I was laughing.
It was so funny. So what do you give it?
I say 9. I want to say 8, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It moved. I remember looking at the clock and it was 20 minutes after, and it's like, wow, we still got 2/3 of the episode left, and we had accomplished what felt like so much.
Right.
And didn't come to a complete stop in the road like the last couple of episodes where it just, the laying on the horn just hurt that episode, and then of course everything from the French girl on hurt last week.
The Chantal Hutch scene came after that, and that was okay, but like I said, when you got introduced to all these new characters in the last 25 minutes, and I almost forgot what happened before. And what's funny is, out of those 14 characters we got introduced to, they only mentioned 2 of them in this episode. Charlie mentioned Billy.
That's it.
Everybody else.
But we got reintroduced to a girl we met in episode 1 that was sitting with Shelley.
Renee.
The girl that James was looking at.
And boy, he knew how to woo her. And that was one of the only times in the series that my arms went up. I cheered.
I was lighting my lighter. I was doing the heavy metal thing.
When it was over, we cheered. It was a moment. And it was a beautiful moment.
It was a moment.
I'm sure it was a horrible moment for a lot of people. But, hey, Lynch isn't trolling me when he's using anything that he wrote the lyrics for, especially in any of those old songs that was used before. You know, that's the first one with Lynch lyrics that was actually sung in the first 2 seasons, and that was the first one. You know, we didn't get the Nightingale, we didn't get the World Spins, we got just you and
I just woke up. So we didn't see the conga line song at the end credits,
right?
Which would lead me to believe that was an Angelo Badalamenti piece,
right?
Or maybe something he had written before, because he gives himself credit for the chair and for
the new songs,
but
they don't credit the old stuff.
And there's nothing crediting this weird conga song,
right? So I'm thinking it's a original track by Badalamenti or Lynch and the Thought Gang or something like that, and it was just sped up a little bit and on a loop or something.
Yeah,
it was the strangest conga salsa line I ever saw, and the music that I ever heard. That's where we opened up in the episode. We're in Las Vegas, The episode opens up with the statue of the man with the gun, and I got so excited because we didn't have much of anything from Las Vegas last episode.
Right.
And lots of fans see Las Vegas, they think Dougie, and they think, oh, God, why? And I've already come to terms. We go to Las Vegas, we're seeing Coop. Okay? So when I see Las Vegas, I get excited. I know it's not quite the Coop you want, but it's the only Coop we got.
And a lot of people mentioned, looks like Dougie never went home, even though he saw him playing baseball for one shot last week. And it's like, that you're just going to have to figure that out on your own.
Yeah, later. That scene happened.
We've been talking about that.
Yep.
It is what it is.
We're jumping around in time. We're getting shown different parts at different times. And I think it's for thematic reasons. Within the hour, you want to combine everything. So you might get a day and then a night from somewhere else or whatever, as long as the story's connecting.
I feel like the timelines of South Dakota, Las Vegas are faster and coming in to where Twin Peaks is on the timeline for that collision. So we keep going back in time in Twin Peaks. 2 days is taking 5 episodes, or 6.
Part 9.
We'll talk about Sarah Palmer's house later because it's exactly what's happening in the town of Twin Peaks happening in her house. It's the same thing.
In Part 9, we were going 253 yards east of Jack Rabbit's Palace in 2 days. In 2 days, it was going to be October 1st. That was Part 9. And then in this part 13, we heard the same thing from Bobby. We got some strange stuff from my dad today. It could have been anything from his dad, right? Wrong. That's exactly what it was. It was the two.
That night.
Yep. And while Hawk and
him and Shelley and Becky in the diner
was a different night.
Is later on.
Yeah, or before. But it's not. When Frank and Hawk are talking over the map in part 11,
he said
the same night as part 9.
9 and 11.
Bobby's not around, and we thought because of what was happening in episode, he was at the Double R at the time with Shelley and his daughter. Nope. He was actually what we saw today. He was at the diner with Big Ed.
It makes me worry about Andy because we see Andy at 4:30, 5:15 waiting to meet Billy. And then we see him, Billy's house and it's empty. I think that's the last we've seen of Andy, like in the timeline, like picking out a chair and stuff before. But we haven't seen Andy in a hot minute.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's describe this conga line in Las Vegas. The Lucky 7 Insurance. It's Bradley and Rodney and Dougie, and they've got the 3 girls, and they're in this conga line, and they're heading to Bushnell's office. They're bearing gifts.
Bearing gifts in boxes way too big for them.
Yeah, in black and white boxes, which is great. And Tony sees them coming down, and he just freaks out. And I mean, the second this episode started, I was laughing. The song was crazy. The line was crazy. Nobody was holding the waist. They were all just doing this number. And Dougie was having the time of his life. And Candy was smiling as big as we've ever seen her smile.
She's pretty lucid this episode.
Very, very. And so was Dougie. Dougie was on it, man. Every boom. He was from one curiosity to the next.
Yeah. He was paying attention to the whole room when they were sitting in there. Wife?
So funny. He walks in. Bushnell's like, you guys seem to have made a night of it. Dougie, you need to call your wife. Wife? The Mitchum brothers are cracking up because this is the best guy they've ever hung out with in forever. Oh my goodness.
With the lavish gifts they were able to buy for Bushnell.
Yeah. Monte Cristo's number 2. The personalized diamond cufflinks. Ooh. So they must say BM for Bushnell Mullins. And then the key to your brand new car.
Matching set.
Rodney's like, convertible BMW. Now you and Doug have a matching set.
$10 and my left nut says Jesse has a BMW convertible. No, you can't afford that.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen his new car.
Yeah, I'm waiting
a lot of new
Jesse's car. I don't know. Jesse didn't show off his new car, but Janie got to show off hers. She probably drove around all day.
With the top down.
So Tony sees all this. He's freaking out. So Tony calls Duncan Todd while he's hiding behind his desk, Tony's hiding. He calls Duncan Todd. We go from the conga line music to Nightlife in Twin Peaks. It's just that some of the instruments were removed. It was stripped down, but it was definitely nighttime in Twin Peaks theme. And Duncan Todd tells Tony, well, you know what you have to do now. And he gives him 1 day to do it. He said 2 before. And Tony is panicking. And then when Duncan Todd hangs up, he calls his assistant Roger and asks Roger to come in, which usually means he's going to give a load of cash to Roger and hire somebody.
Hiring somebody.
So somebody might be going after poor Tony Sinclair. We hate these characters, and in one episode we change our mind about them.
I have faith in Richard. I'm just saying.
I've never had faith in Richard. Okay, so that's it for Las Vegas. Lucky 7 Insurance. From there, we go to the Jones residence in Las Vegas. And the delivery man is delivering Sonny Jim's new gym set, courtesy of the Mitchell brothers.
That every kid should have.
It's the Las Vegas out, man. It's got the lights. Janie's really weirded out about this at first. Then she sees the brand new car with the big bow on it. And she finds out that's from the Mitchell brothers, too. And her face goes from bewilderment to realization to, oh my goodness, I'm in heaven. I got a great husband who's smooching and getting me gifts. And she's pretty happy about that. All of a sudden it's nighttime and there's Dougie and Janie watching Sonny Jim play on this new set. The best gym set in the neighborhood, I guess.
And typical David Lynch spotlight going across.
It's just so perfect. It's like with Dance of the Swan playing from Swan Lake. And Janie says, I love you so much. And Dougie mouths.
There's Coop. He's in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I see Sonny Jim in that shirt. So, you know, I keep up with the wardrobe. And Sonny Jim was wearing his yellow shirt, which he wore before when they played baseball. So I figured that was probably that day. And just never gave it another thought. But this new red shirt is new. We might finally be getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, he probably wore a red shirt like 5 episodes ago when you said.
It was the first one, and I don't remember when they were playing Dave.
So we get a nice big dose of Dougie Coop after not having him hardly at all last week. And then we go from there to the longest scene of the episode, where we get reunited with Mr. C, who we haven't seen since part 9. The very beginning of part 9 was the last time we saw Mr. C. And so Mr. C shows up at the farm. We thought the farm was going to be Beulah and Otis's place.
I love the farm accountant.
This place is in western Montana.
You immediately recognize the actor from the Coen brothers.
Yeah, the guy that played Muddy. He was in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, but he was also in Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart. I don't know his name.
That stupid asshole deserved to die.
And you immediately recognize the guy that played Jason from the last Friday the 13th.
Jason Mears. Yeah.
What's his name? Mears?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mears.
I think he was in the remake of
said Jason Mears. Yeah, he played Jason.
Could be Jason. Is it Jason?
I can't remember his name now.
So then Mr. C pulls up. He had the code to allow himself into this garage area, but he can't get in any further because Ray didn't give him the codes for nothing else. So he's trapped in there like a mouse. And Ray thinks him and his buddies at the farm are going to take care of this. But, what was the guy's name? I don't want to call it Jason.
Renzo.
Renzo says, oh no, let him up. We're going to play with him for a minute. And so
I like to play with things a while.
So
before annihilation.
Before annihilation. My wife told me today that the Owl Cave ring reminds her of the ring in Flash Gordon.
Boing.
Then she proceeded to tell me how The Return is nothing like the original Twin Peaks and she's never going to watch it. It's just the way it goes. You know, life can't be perfect. You can't be married to the perfect woman that's going to love Twin Peaks. If she loved Twin Peaks, she'd have probably beat me up 8 years ago. Okay, so with some soap sock,
That's right.
So,
we believe in women's liberation around here.
yeah, they burned their bras in the 70s, and now we are equal, baby. Yeah! I love it. So, Muddy explains the rules to Mr. C. You want to explain the rules? No?
No.
Okay.
We're there.
So,
You can't put your other hand on the table. I knew that.
it's arm wrestling. Renzo is their boss. And I love this, the boss.
Over the top.
So when he said a boss, I thought he said a boss, which made me think of video games, which made me think of Bushnell's poster and the fact that he's 4 furious rounds, and I was thinking, okay, the bosses, right? And I was trying to figure out who Dougie had to take out, in that scenario. Anyway, the guy's the boss because nobody can beat him in arm wrestling. Nobody's beaten him in 14 years. He's the king, and so Mr. C tells him this is kindergarten.
Derek Mears.
Derek. Mr. C tells him this is kindergarten stuff, and he's not interested in winning and being their boss. If he wins, he just wants Ray. And Ray seems stoked about all of this because he thinks Renzo? That's a weird name. Renzo is going to beat Mr. C, no doubt. And golly, that's weird because Ray should know better. I mean,
and we hadn't seen Ray since 8. So it's been since 9 that we saw Evil Coop, and Ray since 8.
But everybody thinks Renzo's going to take Mr. C. So they go to another little part of the building. Renzo gets a cheap shot in, says it's what did he say?
That's a wrestling move.
That's from the nursery school teacher, which confused me at first because I thought of Miriam, but then I got the joke, okay. So then Muddy explains the rules of the arm wrestling match, and then they begin, and Mr. C just toys with this guy, and eventually takes him down, breaks his arm, and then punches Renzo right in the face. One time, Renzo's dead, like his nose just went shoved into his brain.
This had the effect of killing him.
Yes, it did. He didn't move after that. So, what I thought was interesting about the arm wrestling match was when Mr. C decided to get him back to the beginning, and he said, this is the starting position.
This is the starting position. It feels comfortable here.
It feels more comfortable here. So I think what he was saying is, you have a chance now. You're the boss. You could say, you know what, I'll just give you Ray and we'll call it a day. But no, he tried to fight him again, and he went to that starting position 3 times. He gave him 3 chances before he said, okay, that's it. Boom, schmack. That was good. I like that because I got it.
Bye, Derek.
And Ray got it because the second time they went to the starting position, Ray tried to book it out of there. And Renzo said, Ray, don't you fucking go anywhere. And then the third time he got to the starting position, Ray tried to leave, but everybody else grabbed him because I think they knew what was down. So now everybody's loving Mr. C. They call him boss. He wants all their cell phones, and then he wants a moment alone with Ray. And that's when he does his little interrogation of Ray. Ray tries to run, and Mr. C shoots him in the leg. He says, now we can talk. He wants to know, Mr. C wants to know who hired Ray to kill him. Ray says, somebody named Philip Jeffries, that's what he goes by. And that's when the farm accountant is just standing there. And Mr. C looks at him and he says, do you need any money? Mr. C says, no. And then he leaves.
Classic. It's so great, sticking out like a sore thumb the whole time.
Yeah, Ray said that Philip Jeffries, he only talked to Philip Jeffries, and that Philip Jeffries set up the whole thing with the warden so that they could get out. And Jeffries told Ray that if Ray got out of prison, he could stay out if he killed Mr. C. When Ray left the jail cell, a guard gave him the Owl Cave ring.
A guard he's never seen before.
A guard he'd never seen before.
And he's never seen Philip Jeffries before.
Right. And he was instructed that when he kills Mr. C, he should put the Owl Cave ring on him. Ray had pulled the ring out of his pocket, so Mr. C told him, you put the ring on. Left hand, ring finger. Mr. C knew which finger to put it on, I guess.
I missed him saying it, put it on, because they were showing it through the widescreen.
There's about 14 guys there, And they're all in another room watching this big screen of what's going on in there. It's just hilarious.
And that's when Richard started walking through the crowd. So it's like
Richard
we just kind of, for a while there, was going, oh my God, it's Richard.
Yeah, Richard took off and went to the farm. And he didn't seem out of place or anything. It's like they knew him.
Yeah. The only person missing was Red.
Right. I expected Red to show up.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mr. C's left this location or not. If we go back to this location, if we're going to see a confrontation between Richard and Mr. C. I mean, I feel like Mr. C's still there. You know, that's the last we see of Mr. C. He gets more information from Ray. Ray said that the reason why Jeffries wanted to kill Mr. C was because Mr. C had something inside of him that they wanted. The first thing I thought of course, was Bob. And then I thought of Garmin Bozia. Of course, he puked all that Garmin Bozia up, and it's still getting tested at a lab somewhere in South Dakota. But they do feed off the Garmin Bozia, so it could be either Bob or Garmin Bozia. And we don't know if Bob's still with Mr. C. It hasn't been defined.
Someone's in the kitchen with Bob, I know.
I think Bob's in Twin Peaks. And I think doppelgangers are just unusually strong and evil. It's the shadow self of Coop, so, you know, as strong as Coop's goodness is, this thing's badness is, right?
There's still some little bit of Coop you see, but...
Oh, in Mr. C?
In Mr. C, yeah. The actual equal parts.
So then Mr. C asked Ray if Philip Jeffries ever asked or mentioned Major Briggs. Ray said no. And then Ray gave him the coordinates. Mr. C wanted the coordinates. Ray reached in the pocket, gave him the coordinates that were written down, even though he told Mr. C you probably shouldn't trust him anyway, right? Then Mr. C asked the final question, where's Philip Jeffries now? And Ray says, he's at the Dutchman's. The Dutchman's? He says, but I don't even know if that place is real, and pow! And Mr. C says, I know what it is.
What it is, not where it is.
I know what it is. The Dutchman's. That's it. The Dutchman's. Right?
That's something new.
So then Mr. C immediately looks at Ray's dead body. He's looking at the ring, and the Owl Cave ring disappears off of Ray's hand. And it drops into the Black Lodge. And then Ray's still laying there when Mr. C leaves the room. But we also see Ray's body in the lodge, dead. And then we see Mike putting the Owl Cave ring back on his podium where it belongs. Now, that ring, in my opinion, Mike has control of where that ring goes. Philip Jeffries told Ray to put the ring on Mr. C. So Philip Jeffries arranged for the ring to get to this guard. And all of this had to be under the control of Mike. I mean, Mike gave the ring to Philip Jeffries. Philip Jeffries gives the ring to the guard, or maybe Mike was the guard. Philip Gerard was the guard.
Yeah, he didn't say one-armed guard.
Right, that's what I was expecting to say.
Yeah.
New guard, I never saw
That's who I thought of naturally. That's who you think of. It's like, how did it get back? And Evil Coop sends them a body they have to clean up now. It's like, oh, you were expecting me? And here's Ray.
Right.
One-armed man's like, don't!
Right. That seems like a new thing that the ring does, transports you, because it didn't do that before. If it's a soul, it's a soul, I guess. But Teresa had the ring on when she died, and they examined her body in reality, and Laura had the ring on when she died. They had her body wrapped in plastic in reality. I'm not going to get into any of that. The ring has always been a question. That's part of the lore that we'll have years and years to think about. This is just what happened in the show. In my opinion, it must be Ray's soul that's there.
Yeah, and the ring always stopped you from getting possessed by Bob, so maybe you putting it on, and the reason why they wanted Evil Coop to put it on, they wanted to put it on him, was so that they could separate Bob from him.
Yeah.
But putting it on Ray, you know, assured that Bob wouldn't get sent back with the body.
I have no idea. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, it's a little bit We like to speculate a lot, but not about Black Lodge
So
stuff.
what the lodge means and the ring and everything else, they've never defined that. So, you know, we could sit here and talk for years and years about it
Yeah,
and just run in circles.
it needs to stay open-ended like that as well, so that we can have years and years to talk about it.
Yes, that's what I think. Okay, so that was it for Mr. C. Great long scene. He shows his dominance, and Richard was there. Richard seemed very intrigued by this Mr. C.
And he looked like he was looking right at Richard when he passed the camera, walking out Evil Coop. He was looking right at his son.
They might have connected telepathically via electricity.
Might have been connected this whole time.
Yeah, I really hope that we get a confrontation between them two, you know, before Mr. C just takes off to wherever. Richard would seem like the perfect guy to bring Mr. C back into Twin Peaks once Mr. C figures out Twin Peaks. Okay, now we're going back to Las Vegas with the Detectives Fuscos. We knew they were going to make an appearance eventually, and they were going to get the fingerprints results back. They weren't blocked. They actually got the prints.
They did. Retired FBR, missing FBI agent.
Yeah. AFIS says that he is an escaped high-security prison convict, and he's also a missing FBI agent. Now, they don't believe for 1 second that this is real because they had Dougie involved in this incident with Ike the Spiker. They know through multiple witnesses that Dougie has been in town. So there was no way that Dougie was escaping from a prison 2 days ago. They know this for a fact. And then when they get to the missing FBI agent, they say that's hilarious because Dougie is Dougie, you know.
But they did speculate witness protection to begin with.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that mixed with a car accident, it's still
You would still want to keep it. You would
looking
still think,
into it.
This is a missing FBI agent because of the car accident. He doesn't know who he is or something, and maybe he was in witness protection before. And wow,
And the Fuscos went from brilliant to just what we thought they were going to be.
You want to make a bet if I can make it? $1.
Yo,
He sinks it. That was the most gripping scene. They had to pay up
what we're doing
$1.
now, the FBI might still get notified that those prints went through, even though they weren't blocked. It
Right.
would still, I think, notify if an agent's prints came up, especially one that escaped the prison.
And if that doesn't happen, the FBI is still supposed to be looking for this escaped Cooper. And we have Dougie's wedding ring that they could investigate.
How many Dougie and Janie E's are there in the world? Google it.
So as the Fuscos are fouling things up, Tony shows up. He's looking for Detective Clark, who's out back smoking. So
What the lady, the taser lady, before he came in. Taser, taser. That's one of those things where you have to put closed caption on and watch it again.
Right, so you can hear exactly what's happening.
And they show you every word that was said.
So one of the Fuscos, the one that laughs all the time, is on the phone with his mom, and he's giving his mom directions. She wants them to go to dinner this weekend, and then she hopes there won't be a murder in Las Vegas. And he starts laughing. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Right.
And then we get the perfect example. Just in the station, this woman's escape. First, she's pissing all over the place. And they're like, we got to stop her. She's pissing. And then she said, I'll shit in your mouth. And then one of them said, oh, she's got a knife.
She's got a knife.
And she's out, cut all y'all balls off.
I'll cut your nuts off.
And then one of them says, taser, taser, taser.
Taser Phil.
Oh, shoot.
He comes in unfazed. Like,
Yeah,
he must have just let the taser go and let them clean up
He
the
was
mess.
laughing, he was smiling like, oh, they got their plate full today. Meanwhile, I got this fingerprints that we're going to play basketball with. Oh, man, that was
And
funny.
it's like, and right at the end, it was like, ma'am, you're going to have to take a seat, and we'll get to you in a minute, or something like that. Like they're talking to everybody else that was witnessing this.
I was hoping it was the 119 woman.
Right.
But yeah, we don't know yet. So Tony's out back with Detective Clark, and there's this other crooked partner that's out there with him. But I think the detectives' names on the insurance papers were different. There was a Stockton, and there was
Loomis.
a Loomis. Right. So we don't know who the crooked detective is. That's what he was labeled as. But Detective
John
Clark,
Savage?
John Savage is Detective Clark.
A Clark.
And we just met a Clark.
or we heard about a Clark.
Right, now we got two Clarks.
Now we have two Clarks. I bet the other Clark is with the E.
He tells him what a good poison is, a conatine, something like that. I don't know what it is. And he tells him that if he, if Tony meets him out back from this place called Crosley's, which is probably a pharmaceutical place or whatever, they'll be able to give him the stuff he needs, but it's going to cost him $5,000. Tony says he's good for it, and they must make the arrangement that night because the next time we see Tony, he's trying to poison Dougie. Bad chance. So the crooked partner tells Detective Clark that they have to call Mr. Todd because they think that Tony's
Cracking.
and
he
Tony's
was.
trying to kill somebody. We got to call Mr. Todd, and what's funny is Mr. Todd wants him to kill somebody, so we'll probably languish with that next episode instead of actually get any other progression. So before we go back to Las Vegas, did you want to say something else about that?
No, just the actor John Savage. He was in Josh Eisenstadt's movie, last movie Josh made. And I can't remember the name of it because I've been waiting to see it for like 5 years.
Darkness Spreads, something like that.
Darkness. I want to give a shout out. Spreading Darkness.
Spreading Darkness. We'd like to see it.
Yeah. And James Duvall and Eric Roberts and John Savage. So
We saw a preview for it in 2011, so it's been a long time coming.
Savage has been in popular with older peoples. He was in Deer Hunter.
Yeah. So the next thing is just a quick shot in Utah with Chantal and Hutch. They're driving through Utah, so they must be on their way to Nevada.
She's eating Cheetos.
Yeah, and when someone eats and talks at the same time, it drives me crazy. Somehow Jennifer Jason Leigh got away with it a little bit, but it was hard for me to understand what she was saying. But basically, they were making fun of Mormons. They don't drink liquor, they don't drink coffee, they don't drink Coca-Cola, and they don't have sex before marriage. And Hutch says, yeah, but once they get married, they can marry like 6 to 10 women or something, right? Wow, it's so funny. And then Chantal's like, well, funny, there ain't more of them. I guess it has something to do with the drinks.
Yeah. If I can't drink coffee or Pepsi or syrup,
or liquor.
or liquor,
Oh,
or screw 6 to 10 wives.
yeah, well, okay.
Can we do drugs? 6 wives? And you can't drink? I digress.
Utah, there are parts of Utah that are beautiful. I drove through there a few times. Beautiful country. I guess it depends on which way you go. I don't want to live around any crazy religious faction, and here I am in South Louisiana.
Right, Utah. Mormons.
And we're in South Louisiana. Catholics. Oh my God.
Bible
Jesus
Belt.
Christ.
The Bible Belt.
Bible Belt's got tornadoes too, so yeah, that's weird. Okay, so let's go back to Las Vegas because Janie E is dropping Dougie off at work, and I'm assuming this is the night after the gym set got delivered, but whatever.
Lovingly.
Janie E lovingly drops him off. Does the same routine of having to push him out of the car and close the door behind him, only this time her perception is different. Her perspective is different. This time she's happy to do it. And she's happy to start that car right up and drive away. The convertible BMW, so funny.
Going to the strip.
So Tony's waiting for Dougie to walk in, and Dougie walks right into the glass door. And then we get a great moment of somebody helping Dougie in, which is something that must happen to him constantly all day long to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, we didn't see, was it Phil? We didn't see Phil this episode.
He managed to get it on his own. He knew to walk through the door. He was going to work.
Yeah.
You know, he's adding cognitive skills. And once he gets in the building, he recognizes Tony, and they've barely spoken, and he walks right up to Tony. And then when Tony says, let's go get a coffee.
Coffee.
A coffee for my friend Dougie Jones.
Dougie Jones.
They sit down at the table with the coffee. Dougie takes a sip.
So good.
He knows to stop at a certain point so he doesn't burn his mouth. And when he looks at it, it's so Cooper. I mean, he's so close to being full blown Cooper, right?
That is the first time I noticed that the sun on Simon's was actually a pie.
Right. The name Simon's is a big pie, and
it's like, no, we didn't see that at the beginning.
Then Dougie looks up from his coffee and he gets transfixed on a piece of pie. It's a great moment. Tony has no idea what's going on. Dougie leaves him alone at the table. Perfect opportunity to poison the coffee. So Tony gets the coffee, poisons it, while Dougie's wanting a cherry pie. And of course, the waitress tells him it's on the house. I think she even says, "Don't worry about it," or something like that. It's in the closed caption. I didn't hear her say it, but they almost brush it off like, "We'll take care of the pie. We'll deliver it to you. Go back to your coffee." He turns around and goes back to his table for his coffee. And as he's approaching the table, he sees dandruff on the back of Tony's jacket. And he starts touching the dandruff.
I saw a constellation.
I saw constellation.
Of dandruff.
Right, and him trying to manipulate the stars to go a certain way, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but hitting certain nerve points, too. I thought for a second Tom Sizemore was just going to go and fall asleep.
I thought he was going to manage the Vulcan move on
right.
But at first, Tony's uncomfortable. Then he realizes this guy might be on to me. And then he looks at Dougie's coffee and he says, "There's your coffee. Dougie, there's your coffee." And Dougie says, "Your coffee?" And Tony just loses it. "Oh my God, I can't do this. You're right. I'm sorry, Dougie." He grabs Dougie's poison coffee. He runs into the bathroom and he throws it away in the urinal. And then throws the cup in the garbage. And he's sobbing. And the guy pissing in the stall. The guy pissing in the stall says, what does he say? "That bad, huh?"
That bad.
It's so funny. And then
getting a lot of accolades for Tom Sizemore's performance there from the community.
It was so good. And then he comes back out and goes, "Dougie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anybody." And Dougie's just plowing away in his pie. He's oblivious to all of it. Oh,
they must have an open tab for Lucky 7 at the, just a running
a running tab for the
business credit card for just go in there and get whatever.
That's great.
That's how he got that first pie to begin with, because he didn't have a wallet.
Our Bushnell paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it for Las Vegas. And between episode 11 and this episode, Las Vegas, everything that happened in Las Vegas was just a dream and a charm and hilarious and fun and just a great show.
Well, part 10 and why I didn't like 10 was because it was dark and the lighter moments came from Las Vegas and it was new. It was like, okay, we're just meeting the Mitchums or getting to really know them and Candy.
Right.
And then...
Right, a lot of that was weird.
But you see now, it works so much better. 10 becomes a better episode now because that's been the best parts in the last 3 episodes. Right. It's been Las Vegas.
Right, and an upcoming scene with Audrey.
Funnest parts.
Somehow, this scene in this episode with Audrey made the last scene with Audrey better. I don't know how it happened because we're just as confused or maybe even more as we ever were. But it all starts to come together and it really is an 18-hour movie. So everything else that happens in this episode takes place in Twin Peaks. Which is strange. We do close out Twin Peaks though. We had went to the Double R before. Oh no, I'm skipping a part. We do go back to Las Vegas. Well, we have one quick thing in the Double R with Becky calling her mom. She's upset because Steven hadn't shown up in 2 days, and then Shelley says, "Come over, I'll give you a pie, some ice cream, and tons of whipped cream." And Becky can't wait because she's poor and she's gonna go eat, and then her mom will try to find time to talk to her. Still ain't sold on Shelley, so. Yeah, thumbs up, Shelley. Great. Everybody there probably eats free pies, so give your daughter a piece. You're still not a great mother to me. You're going to have to do more than this. You're going to have to dump Red. Okay. Okay, let's finish in Las Vegas. We go to, because Tony has to explain the story to Bushnell. So basically, Tony is fessing up to everything he did illegal, and Bushnell already knows. Dougie revealed all this to Bushnell,
Implicating himself.
Yep, and Tony's so shocked, and then Bushnell even tells him, you know, you're going to have to testify not only against Duncan Todd, but against the 2 police officers that are involved. Tony's like, he knows about them too. He's really scared, but Tony does say he would rather do the right thing or die.
No, yeah.
And he says that Dougie saved his life. Thank you, Dougie. Thank Dougie. Thank you. Okay, now we can finish off in Twin Peaks. That's some great stuff because Bushnell was pissed. And you know, he told us the reason why he was making that fist, because he wanted to knock Tony out, and he said, you know, my contempt for you is subsiding now because he's trying to be a better man. And that's what I'm talking about. Tony's trying to be a better man, and we all expected Tony was going to get taken out, and now you kind of want Tony to survive a little bit, just when Duncan Todd's probably hiring someone to take him out.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay, so now we go back to Twin Peaks, back to the Double R again, and that's when Bobby shows up and Big Ed and Norma are talking. We see Big Ed for the first time. Bobby orders his food. He just wants to ask Norma if Shelly's still there, but then Big Ed and Norma say, oh no, Bobby, it's no good to eat alone. Come sit with us. And it's so strange. Bobby sits down next to Big Ed, and they were fighting in the pilot. You know, Bobby gave him a cheap shot. Lights out, Mr. Monkey Wrench. And now he's a deputy sitting next to him, and Big Ed even says it. He says, what's new, deputy? What's new, deputy? That's so great. It's almost like just, you know.
And again, just like David Lynch, taking all this time to get Chad out of the conference room just to realize you have to go outside again. We take this time to get everyone situated at the booth. And then
Walter walks in and dashes everybody's hopes, even though Big Ed did tell Bobby there's nothing going on here.
Yeah.
When Walter lays that smooch on Norma, we know for sure that Big Ed and Norma ain't together. So then Big Ed and Bobby leave the table so Walter and Norma can talk business. And it's a very interesting business to me. I thought it was great. The Double R is franchised into Norma's Double R Diners, and 3 of them are making a profit. And the reason why they're making a profit is because they're buying their ingredients elsewhere. They're not sticking to Norma's plan. It's Norma's recipe, but Norma insists that all the ingredients have to be natural, organic, and local. And they're buying whatever else. And this is, of course, a statement on the way things are in life. I mean, this is like what Dr. Ramp's talking about with corporations running everything. The way Norma does it is the right way. Her pies cost too much to make, and she's not selling them for enough, so she's not going to make a profit, but it's the best damn pie you're ever going to eat. Yeah, to me, this was all a social commentary.
Yeah.
About
pay your employees less.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that minimum wage down.
Yep. Make sure that bottom dollar is profit at the sake of a good product. And then when we talk about local, natural, organic, we start talking about.
I don't think Twin Peaks though. When I thought the soil was tainted.
Right.
It's
That's
like,
what yeah. It's just another example that the soil's tainted, and Dr. Ramp's up there saying, "Hey, I'm drinking this clear water up here. It's clean. It's natural. It's not affected by, you know, the corporations down below."
The pies are still good though.
Well, yeah, they're still good, man. You ever eat at Wendy's? So good.
Magical.
It's just magical.
It's a miracle. Miracle pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Grant Goody from 8 is Enough.
Oh yeah, Walter from
So
8 is Enough.
So now we've had a Love Boat cameo and an 8 is Enough cameo.
Yep.
Sick.
Yep. And when Shelley was on the hood, that was like Dukes of Hazzard. So is it? What's the guy's name? Schneider.
I was thinking Roscoe Pico Train. John Schneider.
John Schneider. That's right. Okay, so the whole town's struggling economically, the whole region. So it's a miracle these franchises are doing good. And Norma likes this guy, Walter, so she's going to give him a chance to explain his side. But I think we all know Norma's going to stick with her recipe. Okay, then we stay in Twin Peaks, and we see the Run Silent, Run Drapes store. The golden shovel is revealed as a truck is passing, and it slams on the brakes and backs up to make sure he's seeing what he's seeing. Someone is displaying a golden shovel. So this is Dr. Jacoby. He gets out of his truck and knocks and rings the doorbell until Nadine answers.
Glad that didn't last 3 minutes.
And Nadine says that they're closed, but then she notices it's Dr. Jacoby, and she freaks out. She opens up the door and she says, "Dr. Jacoby." And this is where the writing is just so great. What does Jacoby say?
"Nadine, is that you?"
"It is. Can I call you Dr. Amp?"
"That's me."
So good. "Nadine, is that you?" "It's me. Can I call you Dr. Amp?"
That's
"That's
me."
me. And they really go on, like, in the Secret History of Twin Peaks. I should have said full spoilers, everything Twin Peaks at the beginning, but you guys should know that if you're watching this. There is something about Jacoby doing things with the eyes, and the left eye detects certain things, the right eye certain things, and he was doing this experiment, and it explains the glasses he wears to a degree. But he also mentioned that he thought Nadine would be good in this experiment, the experiments he was doing, and I guess her episode disqualified her from being a patient, but he treated her, as a psychiatrist, and just the way he talked about Nadine in The Secret History, it's as if he thought she was an attractive woman. So when you see this scene unfold, and we already know how enamored Nadine is with Dr. Amp, and he's just so happy that his message is getting across to somebody and that it's making a difference. And she says, "It really is." She said, this setup is my tribute to you, Dr. Amp. And these drapes are completely silent." And he's so happy. And then he recalls seeing Nadine last time I saw you was about 7 years ago.
You were on all fours, looking for a potato.
And she said, "Where was this?"
At the supermarket.
It was at the supermarket. You dropped the potato, and then he said, "It was a really big storm that day." And she said, "Oh." And it's just perfect. If you have a mind, imagination at all, you realize, he recalled that day he saw Nadine. He even remembered the weather, where she was at, and this just impressed her so much. And brown chicken, brown cow. Now this is great. If Nadine and Dr. Amp get together, this clears the way for Big Ed and Norma, and everybody's happy.
Except for Data's Enough guy.
Data's Enough guy lives out of town somewhere. Remember, he said he had to come into town with the good news. He's just trying to get in Norma's pants. Screwy is Enough guy. What are we talking about him for? Okay, next we go to Twin Peaks Palmer residence, and Sarah is there. Now, if anybody saw the little conversation that David Lynch had with Grace Zabriskie, Ray Wise, and Cheryl Lee around the dinner table before the return was ever announced, and they talked about what the Palmers would be doing now, Grace Zabriskie said something about that Sarah Palmer would be at home probably watching sports, which I thought was weird. I don't know if Lynch wrote that dialogue for them or not, but here she is in her house watching what seems like 1950s boxing, and it's on a loop. Whether it's a VCR tape that has been recorded and then stopped and then recorded, and she just kept recording the same part over and over, or is this some kind of time loop?
It's like Cooper in part 3 going back and forth when he slipped through the electrical socket. Everything time was jumping back and forth. And right now in Twin Peaks, time's jumping back and forth. We're still 2 days away from where we were supposed to be 6 episodes ago. And I think in particular in her house, it's just a loop. She wasn't repeating. I mean, she did get up and go to the kitchen. She was looking for. Well, I'm thinking you can exist in that time, and she wasn't moving back and forth like Coop was.
Right.
So you can exist, but it's not. It's a metaphor more than anything.
It's definitely imagery of how you get in this vicious cycle. And
that wasn't even the vodka she was buying.
That wasn't the vodka she bought at the store.
The grocery boy never brought it to her, or
this happened before she went to the store. She ran out of vodka. She got up, went in the kitchen, came back with the last little bit of something, and that wasn't enough. And then she took a shot of that, and then she tried to sit down, and then she realized I needed another drink, and then she started looking at the bottles again, and they were all empty. And she got up, went in the kitchen again. Yeah. It's just a vicious cycle, and the whole time this boxing match is on a loop with the electrical sound. I always wanted Bushnell Mullins and Sarah to get together, so when I saw she was watching boxing, it got me excited. And I was hoping that maybe Bushnell was one of the boxers, and that maybe she was previously enamored by him or something. But that's all I got for that vicious cycle.
Yeah, you're right. I think she went get her vodka after this night, where she freaked out at the grocery store.
Somebody will do a fan edit one day, and they'll put everything in actual chronological order, and then we'll see how it doesn't make sense in 1 hour increments. But it'll still be appreciated, you know. I'm gonna stop at a certain time anyway, and it'll probably be on some of them slower, deader, languishing moments.
Something in the kitchen with Bob. Something in the kitchen with Bob.
Then we go to where Audrey's at, which we still don't know where that is, but I'm assuming it's Twin Peaks.
No, never had an establishing exterior.
And she's still wanting to know what she said. Charlie said, we're not going to go through this again. And then Audrey says, she feels like she's somewhere else. And sometimes she feels like she's someone else. Do you ever feel that way, Charlie? And Charlie says, no. I usually just feel like who I am. And we start to get into this dual personality thing with Audrey, where she's not sure where she's at, she's not sure who she is, she doesn't even remember where she was supposed to go. And Charlie starts telling her, you wanted to go to the Roadhouse to find Billy. That's what you wanted to do. And then she asks, how do you get to the Roadhouse? And Charlie says, you know how to get to the Roadhouse. And then he says, I will take you. But you're going to have to stop this, otherwise I'm going to have to end your story.
I don't know what that means.
And she's like, what story is that, Charlie? Do you mean the story about the little girl down the lane? And then she just freaks out. When she sits down, she says, she wants to know, she says she wants to stay and she wants to go. And she doesn't know which one to do. And she ends up asking him, which one would you be? As if she's trying to choose between her two personalities. Which one would you be, Charlie? And then she says, it's like Ghostwood here. That's when she loses it. After she says it's like Ghostwood here. It's almost as if she's starting to remember her real life and she just loses it again. So I don't know. A lot of people thought she was in a hospital originally and that this guy's her psychiatrist. That theory is starting to look pretty good. Of course, he could have been a psychiatrist to begin with and just married to her anyway. I still think what's going on in reality is still happening. I mean, we saw a farmer get his truck stolen, and then we hear about Billy getting his truck stolen, so I still think there's a connection to reality here.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to add about Audrey, huh?
No, the little girl that lives down the lane, I'm thinking is a person Charlie was telling her that she was, or that she is. Was when she says, you know, which one am I supposed to, which one are you going to end? That one? The make-believe one? Because I'm remembering me being someone else.
Right.
And Ghostwood is just like, this place feels like a haunted house. This is what it feels like to me. This place feels cold and alone and creepy.
It's like Ghostwood here.
It's like Ghostwood here.
And then she starts freaking out. It's almost like the reality of everything that happened to her was rushing back to her. And she was paralyzed in fear and
might be about to wake up from the coma.
Oh man, we live inside a dream.
That's true. The whole show is inside a dream.
I just didn't think it was going to be Audrey's dream. Is this real, Ben, or just some sick, twisted dream?
Yep.
Then we go to the Roadhouse.
Sorry, I'm not too vocal.
Where the MC says, ladies and gentlemen, the Roadhouse is proud to present James Hurley.
There's so many ways you could laugh and want to almost cry and rock out and be embarrassed at the same time.
Wow!
Because that's what we went through that entire song and sang along.
By the second verse we were singing. We were trying not to sing, but by the second verse we couldn't help it.
Couldn't help.
And it was just awesome because Renee was sitting there after everything she'd heard about James, or the friend, not Shelley, but the friend across from Renee was the one that was suggesting that there's something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
And Renee didn't get one word in because Shelley said, there's nothing wrong with James. He was in a motorcycle accident. He's just quiet now. James is cool.
He's just deep.
James has always been good. It's so deep.
Those lyrics.
Those lyrics are so deep. I mean, we're talking about
Together, Snoqualmie Falls,
and forever. It is awesome. See, a little bit about my history. I watched the pilot of Twin Peaks, and then I didn't get to see the first season until probably at the end of 91 into 92. So I managed to buy the soundtrack, and then I got Julie Cruz's albums, and so I was familiar with David Lynch's lyrics in the songs that were being used in the show, and realized how much of a romantic he is. These simple 50s songs and lyrics, and just simple idea of walking along the path, holding hands, the wind blowing through the trees and everything else. I mean, it was just simple. So when I finally got to see the second season and James was singing this song, which I knew Lynch wrote the lyrics for, it was perfect little 50s song. And as cheesy as everybody thought it was, I was always emotionally moved by it. It's a sweet song. So anybody that thought Lynch was trolling them with this full performance of Just You and I by James Hurley, I loved it.
We didn't get the, well, you know, Maddie seeing Bob immediately after the original version of Just You and I. But we didn't get something that horrific after this version. But I was kind of hoping when the song was going on, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this in the second season. And Maddie saw Bob. It was one of the scariest moments ever. But
yeah, instead
this stayed on par. It really did. It was a good episode.
We end on Big Ed at the gas farm, and he's pretty quiet. He's drinking the soup from the Double R, and he's sad. And he has a piece of paper there, and he decides to set it on fire while the credits are rolling. I'm assuming the piece of paper was a note that he was going to give to Norma, and when Walter showed up, it ruined that. So there he was, wasting his life away in a loveless marriage. And Nadine is credited as Nadine Hurley. Wendy Roby's credited as Nadine Hurley, so I'm assuming they're just still married. Big Ed's got his wedding ring on, so it's just the same sad existence for Big Ed. And I hope Dr. Jacoby comes to the rescue. Now, Renee had a tattoo on one arm. It said 7663. I don't know if it's the actress's tattoo or if it's something for the show. But when she briefly brought this arm up, it had a tattoo of a rose on it.
I saw that rose.
Yeah. And it was, you know, regular ink. Nothing had been colored yet. So the outline of it looked blue to me.
It went so fast, I still have to go back and look at that. But I knew it was a rose, and it did have a bluish tint.
That was it for part 13.
We're going to have thoughts we thought you didn't think of.
Yep, we usually do that. We usually record that Wednesday nights and get it out by early Thursday mornings. And I gotta work. And these, I gotta work all day Thursday.
I had to go to work tonight. Like right now.
Good luck with that. Before we sign off, I just want to bring up a couple of shows that I like to watch. Give a shout out to some of the people in the community who are doing videos on YouTube. I love the community. It's great. And a lot of these people have a lot of subscribers. And a lot of you guys like Pete Peppers, even though he tends to do his Game of Thrones videos first. I guess you can forgive him for that. And Wow Lynch Wow, which, you know, is my favorite as far as those quick 12, 14-minute ones go. But a couple of long ones that I like to watch. First of all, Mark Anthony Macon has a channel on YouTube. That's Mark-Anthony Macon. And there you can find Faces of Stone. They do a live initial reaction right after every episode. It's one of the only live reactions I can find on YouTube. And they talk for a good hour, hour and a half. And it's Mark Anthony and Noah Diamond and Amanda Sisk. And they have great ideas, and they talk and they have a fun discussion, and you guys should check that out, Faces of Stone. And I also love the Survival Review with Sam and Justin. Check out the Survival Review, their reactions to Twin Peaks. They're a little behind right now, but these guys are pretty young, and it just blows me away that they can love Twin Peaks as much as they do and get so much out of it that they do. It just, you know, it's just great to see it, a generational thing, and to have an effect on young people. And these guys are funny to watch. So check out the Survival Review and check out Mark Anthony Macon. And we'll give a shout out to some more as these shows go on.
Hey!
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. This has been Twin Peaks Twin Perspective, the review and recap for part 13. What story is that, Charlie? I am Joe.
I'm James.
And we will see you in the trees. Bye.